Hello, welcome to RevelatorAlf. I hope you're all well. So Harley Davidson have updated their X440 to a T variant in India. What does this mean? Well, basically this means that Europe, the UK and the United States are not getting this motorcycle thus far. But what does this mean to the variant itself for the Indian market? Well, not a great deal in all fairness. The engine's the same, the performance is the same. They've tidied up the tail section a little bit, and they're saying that the inspiration for the change is from the Harley Davidson XR1200 from years ago. So they've kind of basically modelled it on that. That's a 440T, right? All they've done is a few aesthetic changes. They put some bar end mirrors on there, but that's about it, really. There's not a great deal of difference. Now, why have they done this? Why haven't they brought out a new motorcycle? Why isn't there any extra movement between Harley Davidson and Hero MotoCorp in India? And also, why aren't any of these motorcycles coming to the European market and certainly to the United States? Especially when Harley Davidson keep on saying, they've teased us with this new motorcycle, the Sprint, that's supposed to be coming out. What's happening? Why isn't this bike coming to our markets? I've been saying for the longest time the X440 should have come over. I was saying that the Chinese variant probably should have come over as well. Why? It begs the question, why? Do they believe that the European market and the American market won't buy into this? Possibly. I mean, possibly they do have a case in point here. It could also be that they don't think they can come over to Europe and the United States market, certainly to Europe now, and match any other competitors' small displacement motorcycle prices. Now, we've got a lot of Chinese brands coming here. We've got a lot of European collaboration with Chinese brands now, and they're bringing in really cheap bikes, but they're good quality bikes as well. They are good. BSA, the latest, the reimagined BSA. They're bringing out bikes, £3,500, which is about, four and a bit thousand dollars, US dollars. So Harley Davidson, if they want to bring out a $6,000 bike, they're already at a disadvantage. So it kind of surprises me that they don't want to bring over something like the X440 or this X440T variant. Now in India, they're saying that this motorcycle is going to go for around about 240,000 rupees, which equates to about nearly just under 2,000 UK pounds sterling, which is in the region of about, $2,500, $3,000 US dollars. Now, if you consider import taxes and tariffs and all that kind of stuff, that probably is in the region of about a £3,500, nearly £4,000 motorcycle here in the UK, and probably in the United States, there's probably in around about $5,000 motorcycle, right? And I'm sure they could do a deal and work something out on prices. So if you're comparing the bike that they've already got a track record on with the new bike that's got no track record on, price differential, they're already missing the mark. So the question is, with Harley Davidson and this next motorcycle that they want to introduce to the American market and possibly to the European market, who's making it? Who is making it? Now, I said when this news came out, this new Sprint $6,000 bike, that I cannot see this being built in the United States. Not for that price point. It has to come from abroad. Now, whether that in itself, being a foreign-made motorcycle and maybe just lastly assembled in the United States, whether that's going to be enough to satisfy a lot of American buyers, I do not know. But just to say that it has to be American built for this type of Harley Davidson, I'm not so sure that people are going to be that bothered by it, especially when they're buying cheaper imports anyway. Now, if it was one of the big cruisers and the big tourists, let's say, then yeah, I could see there's more of a patriotic fervour about it. But like a $6,000, $5,000 bike, I'm not so sure. So I questioned at the time, why weren't Harley Davidson bringing out new motorcycles with Hero MotoCorp? Because remember, as I reported, when they first got together and when they first reported that they're going to go into a collaboration, it was supposed to be for a 10 motorcycle deal. That's what it was supposed to be. It was a leaked memo from the CEO of Hero MotoCorp, and he was saying that it's actually be a 10 motorcycle deal that they're in the pipeline. Well, since the X440, there hasn't been anything. There's been variants of the X440, but there haven't actually been new motorcycles. Now, I suppose it depends whether you class a variant as a new motorcycle, of course. I don't, but others might. Now, could it be that this Sprint is actually going to be in collaboration with Hero, or could it be with QJ Motor from China? Who knows? I mean, if they say it's going to be an American-built motorcycle, I would be still very skeptical whether it is actually made in the United States, or maybe just the last bits of it are assembled in the United States. That's all I would say. Look, the X440 is getting a facelift, and that's all I would say it is. It's getting a facelift. I just question whether new models are coming through for the Indian market, for the European market, for the United States market. Do more need to come through? Yes, I would definitely say so. They need to make different engine sizes, and they need to do, 500cc, 750s, 900s, that kind of thing. They need to increase their kind of product line in the lower cc bracket. Now, where those motorcycles come from, your guess is as good as mine. But to say that these are going to be American built, I'm not so sure. I'm surprised that more motorcycles haven't been developed between Harley Davidson and Hero for the Indian market. I'm surprised that more motorcycles haven't been developed between Harley Davidson and QJ Motor in China for the Chinese market and the Asian market. And I'm really surprised that none of these bikes have found their way into the American market and to the European market. I know the Chinese brands have got into the Australian market, and the problem is, as we know, you have a Harley Davidson tax. Now, you can say a Harley Davidson tax, in inverted commas, allegedly, is kind of expected for the bigger motorcycles. But when you've got motorcycles that are pretty much like for like, in terms of the X350 and the X500 from China, which are very similar to the Benellis, which are also produced in China, and the Benellis are a lot cheaper than the Harley Davidsons, all of a sudden you're going to think, well, why buy a Harley Davidson, small cc bike where I can get a cheaper bike that's virtually exactly the same? Here's the problem for Harley Davidson. They need to bring these bikes in, and I've said this in a previous video, they need to bring these bikes in or develop products like this, but they need to make them competitive on price. You can't just say, oh, this is a Harley Davidson, and people say, yeah, I'm going to pay an extra $2,000 or $3,000, pounds, shekels, whatever it is, for that bike. It just won't work. You've got to follow suit. Now, unlike Indian, which I'm going to talk about in another video, Harley Davidson already have these collaborations in place. They already have the partnerships with Hero and QJ Motor. So to say that they can't produce these bikes is kind of a bit of a nonsense. They have it there. They have the working relationship there. It should be relatively easy to bring out new motorcycles. I'm surprised they haven't brought out more. And I say I'm surprised they haven't come to European markets, United States markets. This could be 2026 and 2027. This is where we see Harley Davidson really stretch it out a little bit more and just take that leap of faith and just say, we need to start producing these bikes and need selling these bikes, not necessarily in the American market, not necessarily just for the European market, although I do say that they will be quite successful in the European market, especially if they can match prices with the likes of the BSAs, the Royal Enfields, whatever it is, but certainly with the Chinese brands coming over. They need to do something. But they brought out a new variant. As we used to say in my childhood, well, whoopie-doo. They brought a new variant out. Great. That's not what the market wants, certainly for Europe and certainly for the United States. If you're going to say that the kids, they're going after cheaper bikes and small displacement bikes and cool little retro bikes and whatever, then produce bikes like that. That's what you need to do. And you need to do it pretty damn quick. Because let's face it, the wolves are knocking on the door, and Little Red Riding Hood is basically just about to open the door and let them all in. And you can't blame her, to be honest with you. You can't blame her. And there's an analogy for you. But listen, Harley Davidson, I made a short the other day. What are you thinking about? What kind of dreams are you thinking of? Or new models coming through, all that kind of stuff. But if this is all they've got, a variant of an X440 that's not even going to go for the United States market or the European market, if they're not going to bring out multiple models in different CC ranges, then they're really going to come unstuck quite quickly here. And they need to match them on price. You just take, I've made videos about this already, you just take the UK market and the European market, which is still in a bit of a slump in terms of motorcycle sales. But the motorcycles that are selling are the cheap, good motorcycles from India and from China, or the European brands that are, made in China. Those are the ones that are selling, not the big expensive bikes. And we know this, reports coming out daily now of more dealerships closing from Harley Davidson, not only in the United States, but all around Europe. And people just aren't buying bikes. There's inventory just stacking up. You got dealerships holding auctions just to get rid of bikes. Now, as I say, if you want a deal, go into the used bike market, go to where any of these dealerships are desperately trying to get rid of their stock and see if you can get a deal there. Let's say there's always deals out there if you're desperate for a Harley Davidson. But in terms of smaller bikes, they need to do something. They need to be competitive. I'm not sure that Harley Davidson have it in there within them, have the capacity to be competitive with these kinds of motorcycles. I could be absolutely wrong, but I could be absolutely right. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you like what I do here, keep on watching, and I'll catch you again. Bye now.